good information. Thank you very much, Ross. Michael, you rolling? Okay.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. This is a great group. I love speaking to investors and realtors and people who are thinking about property. It's not a sales pitch today. I'm not really trying to sell anything. I'm a consultant, and really it's about education. I want to talk about SolarCity, why SolarCity, why I'm involved, and if it works for you guys to explore that. I'm not really a public speaker. I really love going to people's homes though and speaking to them about solar. So a little bit of background on SolarCity. It's so cool because you guys have talked about this a little bit. This is just a quick video. It presents our vision. A couple minutes. It's just interesting. Elon Musk is in it. Elon is the chairman. So he founded the company. Elon Musk from SpaceX and Tesla is the chairman of the board for SolarCity. And he founded the company with his two first cousins, Lyndon and Pete Rive. And they're both, chairman and chief executive officer, chief technology officer. So let me play this little video here for you.
Is this a publicly traded?
It is a publicly traded.
All right. Hopefully we got audio on there. You put the speaker in?
No audio yet. Hold on.
Wait.
So here's another option. Do we have a mic? Do we have a input here? No, from here.
I don't know that mine works without plugging in there. Okay, so you should be able to plug straight into that as
From HDMI. So the HDMI is going to here.
Okay, but I'm doing mine HDMI and it works just fine plugging in for the audio. So plug it in. This is your audio.
This is my audio,
Okay,
yeah, I have
just,
one.
just try to get.
You might just have to select the source that it outputs on the computer.
I'm not going to show the video.
We could. What about the speaker just coming out of the laptop? Does that work? I'm trying to see if it's loud enough.
I think it's trying to harvest it to the
Oh,
HDMI.
yeah.
Okay, well then I'm going to see, is there an output on this?
So let's, there's an output here. We're on this little thing.
Yeah, probably just go ahead and roll.
So we'll skip this. We're going to roll with this anyway.
Okay.
So SolarCity is the #1 solar provider in the United States. We're in 18, 19 countries. We're rolling out internationally and setting up operations in Mexico right now, in Mexico City. We were founded in the Bay Area. Our original warehouse was in Palo Alto. And basically, if there's sun and there's savings to be had, we hope to be in that state. So 300,000 customers. We install about 1/3 of all solar in the United States. The next 10 competitors, you can see, are about 25%. So I would say that bigger is not necessarily better, but in this case, we're the biggest because I think we're the best. I really love it. I actually have SolarCity on my house as well. And every 3 minutes, we have another customer who switches to SolarCity. This is actually Santa Barbara. This is to show you the penetration here in Santa Barbara locally. I actually have this app on my phone. I can dial it up wherever I'm at, and it shows me who is a SolarCity customer. And we can even click on the links and see how big those systems are. You can't see the address for privacy reasons or whatever, but it really is contagious when your neighbors have it. It's from a real estate investment perspective, you start getting a tipping point where my neighborhood has 66 homes, and my little HOA, and 7 homes have it. So we're, well over 10%, and we're just going to keep growing with solar. So we have a new way of electricity. It used to be very expensive. Everyone thinks of solar and they think, oh, I don't have $30,000 or $50,000, however big that system is. It's what stopped me from putting solar on my roof for 10 years. I wanted it, but so it was very expensive. So we're stuck with coal, nuclear, and natural gas. This is, really the why as to why I work for SolarCity, why I put it on my roof. I was an environmental engineering consultant for 15 years. I worked in Palestinian West Bank and Okinawa, Japan, and plutonium cleanup sites and oil cleanup Superfund sites, as a program manager in business development for big consulting firms, and I was always interested in renewable energy. And it really wasn't until I figured out I can do this for no money out of pocket. But it didn't make sense to me, but it is real. And the utilities always made me a little bit angry. It was a monopoly. I was always frustrated. I had no control over that electricity price.
Me too. You said me too.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
Silly.
we used to pay $30, now we pay $200. It is unbelievable. So really zero out of pocket, it's predictable electricity rates, and you save energy, save money while you're producing clean renewable energy. So to me, if I could, buy my electricity from nuclear or from coal or from gas or from solar and it costs the exact same amount, I would do it from solar if I could. If I could save money, then it's like blowing my mind. This is a typical customer. By putting solar on your rooftop, you save, it's as if you didn't drive a car for 290,000 miles over the 20 years. It offsets 122 tons of carbon dioxide. I don't like to talk too much about global warming because it becomes a political thing. Go ahead, please.
Is it a car rooftop there?
I'm sorry?
The rooftop of a car?
No. This is if you have solar rooftop on your house.
Yeah.
It's as if you didn't drive 290,000 miles. It's as if you planted 3,000 trees.
Would it be possible to put maybe some of them on top of your car?
There are cars experimental. There's universities. There's a lot of university engineering programs, and they're working on cars that have solar. The car has to be very big, long right now, so it's not something that's like in a production model that we could use.
Right.
I do think there might be one, like a Prius or something that has so it basically adds to the charging, but it's not sufficient to run the car. Those cars, those experimental cars, they can drive across the United States, and they're solar powered. There's an airplane that is circumnavigating the entire globe, and it's just running on solar.
And wouldn't you much rather have people be focusing on global cleaning rather than global warming?
Yeah.
Because really it's,
Well, that's why I kind of stay away from that. Although, for me, actually interesting. The last time I was in Vest Park, I was driving in here. I was thinking, oh, what? I enjoy this place so much. Last time I was here, it was for a greenhouse gas climate change technical conference when I was an environmental engineer, and doing, it was a great conference, but so it's kind of nice to be back there and talking about solar. And really, to me, it was something that I could do. I felt good for my kids, clean air. Something that really makes me angry, Porter Ranch, right?
Oh.
Right now, Southern California Edison they were a year or two ago, they were about 15% natural of their energy source was from natural gas. They closed down the largest coal operating power plant for DWP. Edison is switching, they're basically switching, and they're going to be about 30% natural gas. So with that demand for natural gas means exposing the people of Porter Ranch when there's another environmental catastrophe. Please.
This past Monday, Bill Gates came out with his annual letter, and in it he said the only way for us to save the planet is to stop all carbon production by the end of this century. And he geared his whole letter to high school students, because they're the ones who are going to, in large numbers, do what you do what you do with the electric car, what those of us who have solar panels are doing. It has to be a complete society-wide and worldwide change in our attitude towards the use and production of energy.
It's true. If you think back to the map, if you notice there's a little cluster of East Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are in the East Coast, right? And we are installing in the snow, because we produce electricity. We produce enough electricity, even in that kind of inclement weather. We still produce in the snow, just like we produce on a cloudy day. Production drops, but it doesn't matter. So we're still generating enough electricity that far north.
if snow's on the panels, it's still producing.
It still generates, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they have 6 feet of snow, no, but if you have a foot, you know, if you have a certain amount of snow, and you know, and in the East Coast, roofs are pitched more because they slough the snow off. That helps the solar panels as well to remain productive. So this is actually from yesterday. If you took all of those statistics on an individual homeowners and how much they're saving with respect to the environment, this is aggregate for all of SolarCity's customers as of yesterday. So it's as if, you know, we've saved about $160 million for our customers. It's the equivalent of saving 1.5 billion gallons of water, which is really, it takes a lot of water to drill for oil and gas, bring that electricity to market. It takes a lot of water as well. So it's really good for all aspects of the environment. So this is the basics on how solar works. Basically, we put panels on the roof to keep it simple. The light from the sun, and not the heat, but the light, the photons, create a direct current with the conductive material that's inside the panels. That gets fed to an inverter. So your home uses alternating current, AC. The sun and the panels are generating direct current. So that inverter converts that electricity from direct current to alternating current. That then feeds into your electric panel, and at that point forward, that electricity is the same as the electricity you're getting from the grid. So you basically have two inputs now, one from the utility, one from solar, and that's what's happening in your house. And I'll give you another little graphic here too as well. And basically this is at 2 p.m. in the middle of the day, right? You're generating a lot of solar. Maybe you're not home, or you're not running your air conditioning yet, it's not that hot yet. So you're generating a lot, you're not home, and you're actually, whatever you're not using in your home goes through your meter. Your meter spins backwards, or now they're digital, so they run down, and you acquire credits. And you're selling that electricity back to Edison, in this case, and your neighbors are using it, right? The closest other electrical users, they're the ones who are using that power, but you're getting an accounting for it on that meter. Go ahead.
Can you give the price of what the solar home is getting for their power and how much the company, their power company charging homes doesn't? In other words, the kilowatt hour.
I'll show you my bill. I have my bill on here, so we'll kind of break down the bill a little bit, and you'll see some of the pricing as well. Please.
What's the efficiency of the solar panels these days?
I don't want to misspeak. They're, 18 to 20% is average. I think ours are 19 something. Again, that would be, I don't want to be quoted on that. We're developing new panels actually, and I'll get into that. I'll explain a little bit about that. So we're coming up with new panels. There's always a race for efficiency. The truth is that the panels get a little more efficient every year, but the price has dropped dramatically, 80-90% in the last 10 years or so. So really the cost of getting solar on your house is not so much buying this big expensive equipment anymore. It's getting into a relationship with a company that's installing it, permitting it, designing it, getting it on your roof, maintaining it for 20 or 30 years. Carlos, you got a question?
Yeah, what's the main, variable that, in terms of how the solar panels are efficient in storing the energy? Is it that solar panel itself, or like the wiring that?
So the panels don't store the electricity, they generate it at that moment.
Right. I mean, from generating it to transferring it, is it the wiring that's like the main problem?
I would have to call the materials engineer.
Yeah.
So I want to stay in my comfort zone on that. I don't know. But what I will say is that as you generate these credits during the day, at night when the sun goes down, you still need electricity, right? So what happens? You work against those credits. So it's like banking minutes or something on a cell phone, and you generate credits in the day. At nighttime, you work against those credits. If it's a really long day, like a summer day, and the sun's shining bright, you might generate more credits than you've actually used, and then it rolls into the next month, where it rolls from day to day, it rolls from month to month, and then at the end of 12 months, the utility company will true up with you.
I was at Home Depot 2 days ago and met your compadre that's working down there. And he had mentioned something that there was a difference between net metering 1 and 2.
I have a slide on that, and it's, yeah, absolutely. So basically, we work, Google was an original investor. We use some Google SketchUp software. We have some proprietary design. We developed, really a preliminary system with the consultant and the homeowner based on your last 12 months of usage. And then we have engineers come out, measure the site, design it according to some more specific guidelines. And then we monitor the system as well. So I'm going to show you a little bit why go solar. This is kind of how that works. It's basically about controlling your electricity price, predictability, and protecting yourself against market. It's a hedge. So you used to have an old electricity bill with Edison, and now what happens is we measure how many kilowatt hours you used in a year. And so we say, okay, in 12 months you use 10,000 kilowatt hours. We're going to design a system that generates 10,000 kilowatt hours, ideally. If we can't, we generate some smaller portion of that. So then you end up having a payment to SolarCity and a payment to Edison as well. And that payment is going to be less than the total of your payment before. And then those savings increase over time. So it really gives you a choice. It's really, if you think about the hedge that Southwest Airlines had in the 2000s, basically they were buying gas futures, right? They bought jet fuel futures, and they said, we're going to pay this much. And then all the other companies went bankrupt. All the other airlines went bankrupt because they were paying when gas was we were paying $4. Well, jet fuel prices also go up, and they had it at a lower price. So it's like, can we go to, if we were to call Edison right now, any one of us who pay an electricity bill, and say, I'd really, if I could get I'd like to negotiate a 20% discount on my bill, do you think you would do that? Is that okay if we do that? And do you mind if we lock that in for 20 years? So I know exactly what I'm going to pay 18 years and 3 months from now. I want to know how much I'm going to pay for 100% of my electricity. Or cool? Is that, can we move forward? And that's not going to happen, right? So let's see. So this is my electricity bill. It's a little hard to see. Sorry for the scratch outs here. This was prior to me having solar. This is October 2014, I think. And I use 728 kilowatt hours. And my average, this is 146 bucks. My average bill was about $160 was actually about my average when I calculated it. If you guys are familiar with this tiered pricing, I don't know if you've ever looked at maybe page 3 is usually on an Edison bill. So basically you get a bucket of electricity. You get these buckets of electricity. So the first few days of the month, you get a certain allotment. Once you use those, you roll into bucket 2. It's the opposite of Costco. Costco, you buy in bulk, you get a discount. With Edison or with DWP or PG&E, you buy in bulk and you start paying more. So that's why someone says they have a $400 bill. They're paying more per kilowatt hour for that tier 4 electricity than someone who's managing their electricity and has a $40 electricity bill. So you can see I was right here. I was paying a good chunk of my electricity was at 31 cents and 27 cents. So this is now my SolarCity invoice, right? I get a monthly bill. It's flat. It's the same price every month, and it's $113. And that's for about 85% of my electricity. And then I have an Edison bill that's left over, and it looks like this. So remember, it used to look like this. If you can see, all these bars up here. And now I'm down, right? So it's just, you can see how much it's shaved off over a couple of years ago. And in fact, here I'm negative. That means in this month prior to, this is the current month, but here I actually produced more electricity in that May or whatever that is, that April, than I consumed. So I ended up going into that next month with a bit of credit.
Are they still letting you lock in for 20 years?
Yes.
SolarCity?
Yes, SolarCity locks you in. So now my electricity bill with Edison is $1.52. And but they're tracking that, this amount of electricity that I'm still using from Edison, they're tracking it. That turns out to about 20 bucks a month. So I pay 130, 135 bucks rather than 160. So I save a few $100s a year, and it gets, and you can see where I am. I barely register 7 kilowatt hours on tier 1. So even the electricity that I'm buying right now with Edison is the cheapest electricity, 15 cents a kilowatt hour, same as SolarCity, 15, 16 cents a kilowatt hour.
So, and then in the past, how much were your power bills each month?
$160 a month,
Oh, okay.
average. So this is data from U.S. Let's see, Department of Energy. the information administration, and it shows in the last 10, 11 years that electricity prices have gone up 4.5% in the United States. So every year, electricity gets 4 point. You can see, like, if you guys are investors, smart investors, and you're thinking about the rule of 7 and compound interest, and every, if it's at 7%, it's doubling in 10 years, right? So the electricity bill doubling. If I'm paying $160, it's not unreasonable to think at, 15, 16, 17 years from now that I'd be paying $400 a month in electricity. So with SolarCity, we can lock in that rate, and we know exactly what that price is going to be per month, per year as we go forward. So I kind of went over this a little bit. We do a consultation, then we design the system. We pull all the permits. We do everything for you. We install it. Here's a beautiful thing is that when we come out to do the site survey, so we just talk numbers, like kind of why you want to go solar, what kind of impact it would have on you. But when the guy comes out to do the actual measurements, they look to make sure your roof is structurally sound for the additional weight, that it's in good condition, that it's, they measure everything exactly, every vent, every pipe, and that's about a 2-hour process. And then when we get to installation, that's usually typically 1 day. My house, when they installed on my house, I left the house at 8 in the morning, I gave the guys some waters, I came back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, excited to see how much progress they made, and they were already gone. It was already installed. And then it takes another few weeks to go through the permission to operate, to interconnect with Edison, and they give you a new agreement with that whole net energy metering, which is acquiring these credits, that's the net energy metering.
Is it essentially leased out at the end of 20 years? Do you own that?
I have a couple of good slides on that, so we'll get to that for sure. So you can progress. We have great technology. I said we're kind of really good proprietary systems on technology. I have an app. You can track where it is. You can schedule the site surveyor. You can see when the car is coming. You can sign documents. We do everything on DocuSign on the phone. I don't actually print any. I have a printer with me that I bring with me as a backup, but we just pull out the old smartphone. You don't even need a laptop, and we execute documents. So that's pretty cool. It makes things a little less painful. Let's see here. And then once you're up and running and you have permission to operate, we turn the system on. We can track through this power guide, and you can see how much electricity you're generating. And in fact, some of the systems actually can track how much you're consuming. It depends on how your main electrical panel is. But how cool is that? You're like actually watching it. And the real benefit to that is not only like Dan and I get to geek out on solar. I mean, I was checking out the production long before I worked for SolarCity. So I installed it September of 2014. I started working for the company this past May. So I had it for a year and a half before I even thought, I really need to do what I love.
I say mine public, so anytime anybody wants to go to the personal power project, look at my energy production.
Well, we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that in a second. Yeah, I got your data. I have your data. If you don't mind. So, but it is, so what's really cool about the tracking the data is that not only are you tracking the data, but SolarCity is watching that data. So you saw all those homes in Santa Barbara. We know what 400 customers are doing in a neighborhood. And so we know that if it's foggy or if it's cloudy, or we know what's going in everyone's production dips a little bit. But if all of a sudden your system goes out and it's gone and there's no productivity, we will call you. So this happened. A friend of mine installed a few months ago. He got a phone call. He was in Utah. He called me up. Hey Ross, I can't get to my house. Can you go check on the inverter? I ran a quick little test for 1 second. SolarCity said, nope, we got to do something. Some maintenance, and they came back out 2 days later. So he was without solar for 3 days, which is amazing, right? So the guarantee is that if we say you're going to generate 10,000 kilowatt hours, we guarantee 95% of that. We say you will generate 9,500 kilowatt hours in that given year as a 95% power production guarantee. So we monitor the system for the entire term of the agreement. We give you a power production guarantee to make sure that you're generating as much electricity as the system was designed, as much as you paid for, basically. And if you don't, you get a check from us to reimburse you because you have to go back out and purchase more power from Edison, which nobody wants to do. So this is actually, Dan, this is your productivity. So this is the lifetime of the system. There's 2 different colors here because he has 2 different inverters. So that means he has a little bit bigger system and some different mounting planes or different angles for the panels. You can see 2016 small because we have a small amount of data, but he's produced 31,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. And this is, you can click and break it down month by month, day by day. You can see when it's cloudy, we give a little how many hours of daylight on a particular day. So you really get some visibility into the data.
One reason that I wanted to lease was because we're at a ridge top and we have really high winds, and I figured if it blew away and they said they would cover it, which they did, they would. It's never blown away, it's been great. But recently, we've had what sounds like mice and rats between our roof and the solar running around. I'm wondering, do you guys have problems like that with rodents eating the wires?
I haven't come across it, but what I can say is what's in the contract. And the things that we don't cover are gross negligence, willful negligence, don't swing a hammer at your panels. Gross negligence would be calling your Uncle Bob because he was an electrician and you want him to work on the panels because you want to move a panel or something like that. That would be like, hey, you got to have SolarCity work on your stuff. And ball strikes. That means if you live on a golf course and someone's repeatedly exposing you, risking your panels to golf, maybe you live on a kid's baseball diamond. So, that's obviously something where it's sufficient, it happens enough. But tree from a neighbor, branch blows and knocks a panel, we cover everything, but willful negligence, gross negligence, and ball strikes. Yes?
Has anybody ever got it replaced that and they found like a bullet in it or something?
I don't know that.
No?
That
All right.
I haven't heard of that anecdote yet. So we've talked a lot about our sister companies through Elon Musk, both SpaceX and Tesla. If you guys don't track SpaceX, it's unbelievable what they're doing. They're launching rockets up to the International Space Station. They're launching satellites. They're actually landing their first stage rockets upright, which they did successfully once. Most of them, they've done it 3 times on a barge at sea, which they're accounting for the ocean, moving this barge, and they're landing this thing upright so that they can reuse it and save $100 million on the launch. So it's unbelievable, the technology. And that's one of the reasons why when I was picking solar companies, maybe I found one, I could get 2% more electricity for this one, or this one might be a penny less or something like that. And I thought, I want Elon Musk, right? Or Sanjeev. I want Elon Musk. Not that he's working every day on the engineering, but that's the guy who's figuring out the engineering for the future. That's the guy who's got the business acumen to sell companies and parlay it into this incredible, movement towards the future. These are also some of our national brands with whom we partner. So Google on the technology. We're in Home Depot and Best Buy. That's where part of the way we get customers. We have investments from most, if not all, the big banks. This is eBay's headquarters, San Jose, California. You can see all solar on the roof. Here's our SolarCity truck right there, right? All solar, all day long. Here's Walmart. This is Arizona, right? These are tractor trailer trucks here for perspective. I think this is the largest, I think at the time it was the largest commercial installation, single commercial installation in the United States. And we're also, in addition to being the largest residential solar, we're also the largest commercial solar.
There's a place for solar panels, the trucks.
Yeah, the trucks, right? That's not bad. That's a good idea. We'll work on that
I
together.
was wondering, are you guys thinking of doing any solar farms so that people can invest?
That's a great. Well, as far as investment, this is SpaceX. We designed a little X for them.
Into projects,
So yes, so
solar
we do.
farms.
We actually have a solar bond that we issue,
That's
so
what I'm talking
people,
about.
so investors can actually go to the website, go to SolarCity and look up solar bonds, and we actually pay a return on that, because what we're doing is we're taking, you're basically like Merrill or Goldman, and you're putting in some money, and we're taking that money and we're investing it in a solar project, and there's guaranteed returns on that with the payments that Dan's making, that I'm making for the solar that's on my roof. So you're actually taking that. Go ahead.
So that sounds to me like it'd be a fixed rate, guaranteed income as opposed to the stock market and investing in stocks with SolarCity.
That's correct. That is correct. So it's a bond. So I would, I don't want to advise on do financial
I think
advice.
there's still risk.
But it's cool. And then you mentioned a solar, kind of a little more of a farm. We're doing, because not everyone can put solar on their roof. So how can you put solar on your roof? And we'll get into this a little bit, but if you own your home, if you have electricity and you're connected to the grid, if you're really obstructed by shade, if you had trees or there was a neighbor that had a 3-story building and you had a 1-story and they were south of you and you were all in shade. So there are certain types of roof types, or if the roof's in poor condition, things like that. So there are things that would limit people who live in apartments. So we're actually, I think it's in St. Paul, and don't quote me, St. Paul, Minnesota, we're actually developing a solar community farm. So we're developing near a community, kind of like a community garden. This is a solar garden. So you can, people can basically say, I want to be hooked up to that solar garden that's in, that's down the park, down the block from us.
And would
So
I
we're
be
getting
able to
their
buy
electricity.
like into that?
That